Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about defensive driving and remaining crash-free. We're going to get started here a couple of minutes early. That way, I'll get the stream going here and everybody will be able to join in. And then once 6 o'clock arrives, we'll start doing questions and answers. And I'll jump right into the PowerPoint presentation for you. Now, I've changed the lights around here a little bit, just trying to get everything looking better. And actually, it looks not too bad there. From the live stream, it just popped up. There's a bit of a delay from the time that I start streaming to the time that it actually comes up on YouTube. So it looks pretty good. It looks like the lights are good. I changed the glass in my degree here behind me, so that's actually I think you can actually see it now. So that's one of the other things that I've done this week. And what else I'm working on is getting some shelves here beside the white sign behind me and putting some cars and replicas and those sorts of things on there as well, just to sort of help spruce up the back behind me so it's more interesting for you to look at. And I did not get the video up yesterday, and I do apologize for that. We're having some growing pains with the new computer. Friday night, I think I spent 2 or 3 hours erasing backups off the hard drive because it just keeps generating backups and filling up my hard drive space, and when it fills up the hard drive space, it won't edit videos anymore. And then Saturday morning, I spent 2.5 hours on the phone with Apple talking about how to do multicam editing with Final Cut Pro, and so that was another almost 3 hours wasted when I could have been editing. But hey, I learned a lot of stuff, and when I talked to Apple, it went to the senior advisor, and the senior advisor was going to kick it over to the engineering department. So so long story short, that sometimes, trying to get videos up has its challenges. So there's a few people here. Paul is here. Hi, Paul. Donut Use Her Name is here. And thank you for that. Yes, these are getting better. We're getting a bit more social. I am good. ABC. Tommy's here. Good evening. Frank is here. Hey, Frank from Michigan. How is the weather in Michigan? Are you guys still in a deep freeze there, Frank? Frank, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't mention to you that you're using an interesting term there. Tongue of Michigan. I'd never heard it called that before, even when I lived in Ontario. Oh, big meltdown there in Michigan. There you go. Okay. Tommy, yeah, good to see you. All About Vehicles. Hi there. All About Vehicles. I'm going to have to check out your channel. What is your channel about? All About Vehicles? Or do you have some videos and stuff up about vehicles? Because I'm always interested in tech stuff and that sort of thing. Aaron from Chilliwack, how's it going? Oh, hi, Aaron. Did you get my email about talking about potentially doing a video together about hazard perception? That's what we were talking about, because that's a really good topic. Matt's here. Hi, Matt. I'm doing good. Francois. Yes. Wisconsin. How's the weather in Wisconsin, Matt? And you left me another comment. I didn't get to that comment. I'm sorry, Matt, but I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little behind because not only am I trying to get the videos up and keep the channel going, I'm up against a deadline in one of my post-crash analysis for one of the law firms that I do work for in terms of post-crash analysis. So that's the other thing I'm working on as well. And being a dad and all those good things. So lots going on. Momo is here. Candy's here. Paulo, you need to know if you can drive in the USA with your driver's license from Angola. Now, Paulo, as far as I know, you can. You can also apply for an international driver's license. Now, your best source of information is actually going to go down to the DMV and talk to them and see what they have to say. But my understanding is that you can drive in another country with your license for a set period of time. Like it's 3 months or something. I don't know the exact timeline on that, but you can drive for a period of time. All About Vehicles. Okay, so you got a couple of vids. That's great. So yeah, I'll definitely check out your channel and have a look at that. And yeah, I'm really interested. Cool. That sounds really great. So issues about vehicles. Yeah, well, we always want to know issues about vehicles. That's great. Conrado from Brazil, I love your tips. Thanks so much, and thank you for your comment. That's really great. And yeah, we've got a bit of a melt going on here as well. So there's lots of water, and then of course at night it freezes. So we've got a lot of ice on the roadways and those sorts of things. So yeah, it's made winter driving a bit challenging. So tonight what we're talking about is defensive driving and remaining crash free. Now just know that the first thing I'll say, this is both for passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles. So this is for trucks, buses, cars, and whatnot. All of these techniques, all these strategies, and all these principles apply to all vehicles. So they're good for all drivers. Now, the other thing is that know for a fact, like you've seen my channel. I've got almost 300 videos on my channel. I am simply scratching the surface here. This is very superficial in terms of what I'm going to talk to you tonight in terms of defensive driving. So know that for a fact. All right, and so we're going to just go over that, and then at the end I'm going to try and sell you the Pass Your Road Test First Time license. And this is not just for the practical license, but it's also for the learners as well. So if you're working towards your learners, I'm going to give you some tips and information about that in the course. And as well, there are a lot of practice driving test questions, and know for a fact that the practice driving test questions teach you the terminology, four-way stops, two-way stops, conventional intersections, T-intersections, all of those sorts of information and terminology that you're going to come up against when you start learning how to drive. So that's the other thing that's going to happen at the end of the course, or at the end of tonight's presentation as well. Okay. Thanks, Matt, because they're strolling along here pretty good in terms of the number of comments. We're not up totally yet. Okay, so all about vehicles. You're going to pass your license in Ontario. That's really great. And Candy, took my CDL permit test and passed everything Friday, including the tanker endorsement, so I'm pretty proud of myself. That is a really awesome accomplishment, Candy, and especially the tanker endorsement. That is tremendous. That is, yeah, definitely take some time and celebrate that success. Yeah, that's tremendous. There we go. Frank, thumb of Michigan area north of Sarnia, Ontario, Michigan, is shaped like a mitten. Yep. And you're in the thumb. And then the other term, Frank, is called the oopers. The uppers, is that what it's called? Uppers or oopers? The people that are up across the bridge, right up at the top there. That's the other term in Michigan, is it not? All right, so Tommy, we're having a bit of a melt in Oshawa as well. We'll be getting lots of rain tomorrow. We might be getting freezing rain. Yeah, that's the thing about wintertime is that when the temperature gets up around freezing, there's always that possibility of freezing rain, especially when it's been super cold overnight. Well, not super cold, but when it drops down below freezing, 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And then in the morning, the temperature comes back up. You get rain, but it freezes on contact. And as far as I'm concerned, freezing rain is probably one of the most treacherous types of weather to be able to drive in, because it's a bit deceiving because it looks like rain when actually it's freezing and causing ice on the highways and surfaces and those types of things. Youpers, there's what it's called. So for those of you who you can pull up Google Maps, have a look at the state of Michigan in the United States, which is in the north, and those that are above the thumb, as Frank calls it, and it's been called, those are Youpers on the Upper Peninsula. So that's where that term originates from. And I've actually been up there in the wintertime, and it's pretty cold. Okay, do not use their name. I recently drove about 1,500 miles on a U.S. East Coast trip. Had some interesting road situations. Here's one. Encountered an off-ramp that was two-way. Yeah, that is an interesting situation. Paulo, international, and this translated in English on this. If you have a phone number, where can I call you for more information? I thank you. Paulo, send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and we can have a chat about that off the channel here on public. Okay, all about vehicles and driver's perspective. In my family in Ontario, my uncle and dad both have AZ air brake tractor trailer license. Yep, and your dad has a motorcycle license. No, that's really great. And as well, I don't know whether you know this all about vehicles or not, but in Ontario, when you have an A license, you also get a C license, which is a coach, so you can drive for Greyhound or the tour buses or those types of things. The only thing you don't get with an AZ license in Ontario is you don't get your school bus license. Okay, so that's the other bonus of doing that. Okay, Sumit Sharma, I got my G2 license last week thanks to your videos. It helped clear my doubts. What is your suggestion for my first car? I'm not a teen that makes you change your advice. If first vehicle, I'm biased, and I'll definitely tell you that I'm biased. If you've watched any of my other videos, I drive a 1998 Honda CR-V, which is a fairly old car. It's 20 years old now, and now that we've turned over to 2018. That vehicle has 317,000 kilometers on it, which is about 180,000 miles. Now, mind you, it's not perfect. It needs a new exhaust, it needs a windshield, and those types of things. But it's a good vehicle. So Honda, Toyota, other people have mentioned a few cars, and I know that there's some people here in the comments will suggest vehicles as well. Those are my recommendations. The other thing that I suggest in terms of buying your first vehicle, if you're buying it privately or you're buying it from a dealership, always get an independent inspection done on the vehicle by a mechanic. So ask the person that you're buying it from if it would be okay to take it to a mechanic and have it inspected by a mechanic. That way you're going to get a report, a non-biased report on the vehicle as to what it needs, whether the tires are good, whether it needs new brakes, the motor, the engine oil, and all those types of things. That's really what you want to do, because it's going to cost you about $100, and that $100 could really save you a lot of money down the road. So that's really what I recommend in terms of buying your first vehicle. All right. So, and it also depends sort of on your price range as well. Okay. Okay, so all about vehicles. They drive 2018 Rams. Yeah, some people are probably not going to want a full-size pickup truck. Frank, you got some great terms. If you live in the Lower Peninsula, you're a troll because you live below the Mackinac Bridge. That's funny. And for those of you who don't know anything about Michigan, the Mackinac Bridge is like, how long is the Mackinac Bridge, Frank? I think it's like 3 or 4 miles, isn't it? It's a long bridge. So yeah, that's pretty funny. So if you want to go up and visit the Yoopers in northern Michigan, you got to go across the Mackinac Bridge, and that's a fairly significant bridge. Okay, ABC, Rick, what study tutorials would you recommend to get my CDL permit? ABC, where are you in the world? Are you in the States? Just answer that question, and then I can give you a bit more information. Okay, Matt loves his Toyota. Cha, is being a truck driver worth it? Okay, that is a really good question, Chawa. Now, it depends on what kind of work you do, right? And look at last week's live feed where or was it last week or 2 weeks ago? But I talked about driving a truck and the different things that you can do driving truck. The thing about driving truck is there's just so many options, okay, in terms of not only the type of work you can do, but the type of truck you can do, how much money you're making, the different kinds of pay that you can make in terms of driving truck and those types of things. And, if you don't have a lot of education, people can go get a license, and for return on investment, you spend $5,000, maybe even upwards of $10,000. You go, say 6 to 10 weeks at a driving school. You come out, and within 3 months, you're probably making $40,000, $50,000 a year, depending on what kind of work you do. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. When you drive truck, you work hard. There's a reason you get paid to drive truck. And it was always an interesting question when I was working at the driving school. What I would ask drivers who were going to be truck drivers what they got paid for. And inevitably, most of them couldn't ask me, they say, drive safe and drive the truck. I get paid to drive. No, you don't get paid to drive. I drive my car all the time. I don't get paid. You get paid to move freight and services between point A and point B as quickly as humanly possible. That's what you get paid for. You don't get paid to drive the truck. That's a secondary thing. You got to do all of the rest of it. You got to be in compliance. You got to drive the truck. You got to maintain the truck. You got to do pre-trip inspections on the truck. You got, if you're running beyond 100 miles, you got to run a logbook. You got to keep trip sheets. You gotta, if you get pulled into the scale, the vehicle's got to be within the compliance for weights and those types of things. So there's a lot of stuff that truck drivers do that when truck drivers come to truck driving school and they start getting taught some of this stuff, they're like, holy cow, I never knew that truck drivers had to do all this stuff. Well, that's why they get paid. Because I drive my car all the time. I don't get paid for it. I mean, could if I was delivering parcels and those types of things. But you're getting paid to deliver freight and services between point A and point B as quickly as humanly possible. That's what you're getting paid for. So know that it is a job and you're going to work hard. But some truck drivers, if you get the right job, you're going to make good money for having very little education or having very few skills beyond being able to move that truck or that bus up and down the road. Okay, so it is worth it. Okay, and I do recommend that if you don't have a lot of education or you're not inclined to do something else, then I would explore it as an option and talk to other people and do that. Because, you know, I did it for almost 10 years, and let me tell you, I was never out of work. Unless I wanted to be out of work, I was never out of work as a truck or bus driver. I could always get work. And when I moved to Australia, within a couple of months, I was driving a bus. So it's definitely a good investment. And Sam is here, Jericho Arroyo. Sam is at Rookie Auto Driving School in the Bronx, there in New York City. For anybody getting their license down there, definitely go and look up Sam. Sam is really great, and he tunes in lots of weeks. He tunes in almost every Sunday to the live feed here, so he's very knowledgeable and intelligent. Okay. Matt, I'm not sure what you're asking me, Matt, in terms of can a CDL license affect your regular driver's license? Okay, ABC, you're in Arizona. What was the question you asked me previously there? Yes, Toyota is really good. Okay, Okay, ABC, I know that it's from New York State, but I did the big video last week on Chapter 2 of the CDL manual for the state of New York. It's on driving safely. Almost all of that information would be applicable to Arizona for a CDL license. It's going to be almost identical. Okay, so definitely have a look at that. As well, have a look at the CDL playlist and air brakes. You need to have a look at all of that information, okay? And if there's anything that you don't understand or whatnot, go over to my website. There's also courses at my website. There's the CDL air brakes course that will help you with your air brakes. It's a really good course, and it's guaranteed that you pass first time because you have to have air brakes, okay? As well, there's an American Logbook course over there as well, which also will help you out, and all of those have certificates, you know, to improve your skill set for getting a job down the road, okay? You're most welcome, Sam. Chawa, you are most welcome, my friend, and it's always a pleasure when I can help people out. Mr. B, can you carry your authority and work for another carrier? Excuse me. Mr. B, are you talking about being a broker? Is that what you're talking about, being an owner-operator and then working for another carrier? Is that what you're talking about? I think that's what you're talking about. Just let me know. Amanda, you're taking your road test on Thursday. Amanda, you're going to be really great. Remember to breathe. Just that helps your body to relax, you know. So in down to your belly button and then out through your mouth, in through your nose, down to the belly button, out through your mouth. Okay, so know that. As well, have a look at the playlist for last-minute preparation for your road test here on the channel as well. And that will just give you some videos that you can review, and that will go over the last bit of information you need for the purposes of your road test. Okay. Oh, all about vehicles. National license. Yeah, if you get your CDL license in Canada there, if you get your AZ license, you can drive in Canada in the lower 48. Okay, and in Alaska as well. I guess you can drive to Alaska as well. So there you go. Okay, Mr. B, owner up. Yes, that's what I thought you were asking me. What happens, Mr. B, is oftentimes when you go to work for another carrier, the carrier provides the insurance and the license for your vehicle, because your vehicle more or less becomes the vehicle becomes a member of their fleet. So it's added to their fleet, so you are covered under their fleet. So most of the time you can't, but that's going to vary from trucking company to trucking company. So you're going to have to do a bit of investigation and call around to get that information, okay? So just know that you can take your authority and work for another carrier, but most of the time it's going to be different about how that works, because like I said, the insurance is going to be provided under a fleet insurance, and the license plates and those types of things are the tags are going to be put on your truck from that company. So have a look at that as well, okay? Okay. There you go. So ABC, Corey, Bricks for Wheels, for those of you who don't know, Corey is Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator here, and Corey is getting up the information for you. The website is www.smartdrivetest.com. So that's the website there. Regina, I don't think you're being serious. Okay, Sahil, please tell me allowed speed variation on main roads and side streets. Yes. Sahil, have a look at the posted speed limit video here on the channel. That'll tell you the variations. Now, you can drive slower on side streets and those types of things that have parking and trees and obstructions and those types of things that are going to slow you down. So know that, but don't go too slow, okay? You can go below the posted speed limit. You see the video here on passing a road test, the one I do on the mock road test. When I'm in the suburbs and those types of things, I'm only doing about 40 kilometers an hour. So know that I'm doing well below the speed limit by 10 kilometers an hour. Now, if you're in the States, you're probably going to do 5 miles an hour below the 30 miles an hour. Just know that, okay? But for the most part, you've got to get the vehicle up to the posted speed limit as quickly as possible. If you're on a multi-lane road in an urban setting and say it's 60 kilometers an hour or it's 40 miles an hour, you need to get that vehicle up to speed as quickly as possible, all right? So, however, if it's a high pedestrian area or it's a suburban area where there's lots of obstructions and lots of vehicles parked along the roads and those types of things, then you can go a little bit slower, okay? Kim? Yes, thank you so much, Kim. I'm glad that all helped out. Now, Kim, you did ask me, I believe it was you that asked me about making a video driving at night and blowing snow in the dark. Yes. Was that you, Kim, that asked me to do that? Could you just say yes or no, please? Okay. Okay, Sahil, so what did they say to you, Sahil? So obviously you weren't successful in your road test, and I do apologize about that, but that's what they said. It was your speed control. Is that what was the problem in terms of your road test? Just let me know there in the comments. Trevor. Oh, you got a heavy foot and like speed. Well, Trevor, I do too. I like speed, but there's a place to do it. And if it's tough to get your speed, you know, have a look at some of the other channels here. They'll tell you, you know, go out on the back roads and those types of things in the early morning when there's no traffic around and those types of things, you know, because you don't want to get a ticket for sure. And the other thing you might consider is maybe going to the drag strip on the weekend. Every town and city has a local racetrack, and you could go out and, you know, get some of that out of your system. Kim, yes, you definitely did ask me about that video. I do apologize. We don't get a lot of blowing snow here in British Columbia because of the mountains, right? It's not like if we're out on the prairies or those types of things. Now, one of the things that you want to do, from my experience of driving in Ontario in drifting snow, is that you need to maintain a speed. You need to maintain kind of a loose grip on the steering wheel, because when you hit the snowbanks, that's what's going to cause your vehicle to go out of control or potentially go into a skid. Now, the other thing is you need to kind of manage your speed, and you need to, you know, because you're driving at night, you're going to have to keep your low beams on and look at, I don't know whether you've done this already or not, Kim, but definitely have a look at the night driving video, because all of the skills and strategies that I talk about for driving at night and being able to find the road are going to help you with driving at night in blowing snow, because you're going to be able to find the markers along the roadway, the utility poles, the road signs, the reflective, those reflectors that they have along the roadways and those types of things, and the fog line as well. So do that as well, okay? Now, I do not advocate driving under 35 miles an hour, especially if you're on a roadway and whatnot, because that just makes you potentially dangerous to other vehicles. The road you're talking about driving 35 miles an hour on, Kim, what is the posted speed limit on that roadway? Just let me know that. Okay. All about vehicles. I suck at. Yeah, okay. Well, some of us do. Okay, Sahil, I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't the... Speed was not the only reason that you failed your road test. Examiners have a very short time to give you feedback, and they can't go into all of the detail as to why you failed your road test. They can only highlight 1 or 2 points. So that, believe me, if you failed the road test and they told you it was speed, that wasn't the only reason. And I would suggest that you have a look at the video on learning how to drive and speed control here on the video, and that will help you to be successful on your next road test. And really concentrate on those things for the purposes of your next road test. Because the other thing about taking your next road test is you're going to have a different driving instructor or different driving examiner, and they're potentially could have different pet peeves and those types of things. So you just need to bring your skill level up a little bit higher in order to be successful on the road test, okay? Matt. Where did Matt go? There he is. All right, Matt. So what happens, Matt, when you get a CDL license, you have what's called a driver's abstract. And on your driver's abstract is listed all of the tickets and driving infractions that you have. So if you have 6 or 7 speeding tickets on your driver's abstract, that's going to show up once you get a CDL license. It's going to be really tough for you to get a driver's license or to get a job as a CDL driver. So you want to try and keep that as clean as possible. Yes, your personal license is going to affect your CDL license. So just know that for the purposes of driving. And as I said, I think I talked about this a little while back. That I got a speeding ticket when I was driving truck, and what I did was I went in and fought it in court, and I paid the ticket, but I got off the points, okay? And that's what shows up on your driver's abstract. And know that when you apply for a job as a CDL driver, you're going to have to produce your driver's abstract. And if you have a lot of speeding tickets, it's unlikely you're going to get a job as a CDL driver because they're afraid that you're going to speed in the truck, and that just makes you dangerous. All right, Sam. Thank you, Sam, for the super chat there. And yes, I forgot to mention super chat is available if you have any questions and want to make a donation to Smart Drive Test. I'm always open to that. And there is Sam's information. Sam is a certified driving instructor for Rookie Auto Driving School in Bronx in New York. Yes, and thank you very much for that endorsement, Sam. It's really great, and I do really appreciate that. All of that helps out. And, helps keep the lights on, and helps to buy non-glare glass for the pictures in the background and those types of things. So thank you, Sam. And Sahil, you are so welcome. Oh, that's great. Okay, so JFSA 380 second, how much time do I have to update status? 1 change of status or certain time limit. Thank you very much. Okay, JF, you're asking me something about logbooks. Okay, 2 logbook related questions. First, I run regional. Time clock is my logbook. Sometimes I need to run logs. How best to record hours of service when not required to use... Now, JFSA 380, if you're running a logbook and you're running it intermittently, I might suggest that you just keep it running all the time. However, saying that, you can put several days on the logbook, so days off, and then when you're running where you're not required to keep a logbook, you have to keep timesheets, because if the authorities come in and audit the company, they need proof that you didn't run beyond 100 miles. Now, the other thing I say about that is I have a logbook driving course over at the Smart Drive Test channel, and it's both American and Canadian, and you can go over and have a look at that, and that will help you out with some of the questions that you're having here as well. So there's a logbook course over there as well. Okay. Now you asked me another question. How much time do I have? Okay. JFSA, you have to update your logbook every change of duty status. So anytime you move between those 4 lines, the line on the top is off duty, sleeper berth, driving, off, on duty, not driving. Okay, so anytime you change duty status, so say for example you go into the truck stop to go and get a cup of coffee, and say you're there for 20 minutes, you have to update your logbook at that point. So anytime you change duty status in that logbook, you have to update your logbook. All right. Okay, and we're getting on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and I'm going to go through the presentation, because I'm going to run out of time here because we're getting on here. Okay, so presentation. Here we go. And of course, there we go. Okay, presentation, heading over. There we go. And we just have to get it centered. Bear with me 1 sec. All right, so tonight we're talking about defensive driving, skills, strategies, and techniques to keep you safe while you're driving. And one of the most important tenets of defensive driving is managing space around your vehicle. I cannot stress that enough, and I'm going to come back to that again. And one of the places that you can always control space around your vehicle is in front of your vehicle. And I know that the argument is, and I've had the argument with students over the years, is that as soon as you back off on the front, oh, somebody's going to go into that space. Yes, they will, but not very often, not as often as you think they will. The other thing is that oftentimes when people go into that space in front of your vehicle, they're going faster than you anyway, so they're very quickly going to be gone. So you just want to manage that space in front of your vehicle. And the reason that I talk about managing space around your vehicle is because it is way faster to drive out of a emergency situation than it is to try and brake. And the other thing with ABS brakes is most modern vehicles are all going to be equipped with ABS brakes, as well as CDL vehicles. They do not stop you in a shorter time. Actually, most of the time, ABS brakes are going to take longer to stop than conventional standard brakes, because studies have shown that the fastest way to stop a vehicle is with a four-wheel lockup. The problem with a four-wheel lockup is that you go into a skid. So manage space around your vehicle, and it's one of the keys, fundamentals of defensive driving. All right, I'm Rick August, PhD. I've been a driving instructor for 20 years. I was a truck driver through most of the 90s and most of the 3 or 4 years of the early 2000s. I was a bus driver for Greyhound and a regional bus driver for a company called V-Line in Victoria, Australia, which basically hooked up between the different train stations and those types of things, and basically went out to Ballarat and came back through Bacchus Marsh and back into Melbourne. I do have a doctorate in legal history, and my specialty is in policing and traffic, and I basically looked at the traffic revolution that occurred at the beginning of the 20th century and how policing and law changed to try and control higher road speeds brought on by motor cars. So that's basically me in a nutshell and what I'm doing in those types of things. And the other thing I'm going to do is I do have a defensive driving playlist up here on the channel. I'm going to make a specific playlist for this presentation. So look for that tonight. I'll get that together for you and put that up. And it'll have all the videos here that I have in the PowerPoint presentation for you over on the Smart Drive Test channel. And I'll stick that when you go to the home page of the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel. I'll put it right at the top, and then that way you can just have a look at it to go through those videos if you're more interested in those. Now, you're going to be a little bit surprised by this, and I know most people will be, that cruise control, one of those, most modern vehicles have cruise control, and if you're driving on highways or on fairly less densely populated urban roads, you can use cruise control. If you're on interstates or motorways or those types of things, cruise control is going to reduce both distracted driving and fatigue while you're driving on long trips or longer trips and those types of things. And I'm kind of obsessed with cruise control. I love cruise control. And if you're not comfortable with it, then definitely go out on a roadway, a multi-lane roadway like you can see here in the image, and get used to how to use cruise control. Because one of the things that cruise control does, you don't have to monitor your speed. If you're not on cruise control and you got your foot on the throttle, you're up and down through the speeds. You're up 5 miles an hour and down 5 miles an hour, and it just reduces that. The other thing about cruise control, somebody was talking, Vehicles was talking about loving speed. Well, cruise control will help you control your speed and reduce the number of traffic tickets that you're going to get. So I really advocate cruise control, and as well it reduces distracted driving. Distracted driving on trying to keep your vehicle at a set speed all of the time. And the other benefit of cruise control is it's going to improve fuel economy. If you use properly, yes, cruise control is going to improve fuel economy. Now, one of the things that we need to do as new drivers, we need to do as experienced drivers, and especially for those of us in North America, we're dealing with a couple of new intersections in the driving landscape. One of them is roundabouts. They're beginning to make an appearance in North America, in both the United States and in Canada, so we have to deal with those. And one of the things that I do suggest about roundabouts is think of them as conventional intersections. So if you're going to turn left at the roundabout, signal left coming up to the intersection. If you're going to turn right, signal right. If you're going to make a U-turn, then signal left in the roundabout. Now, if it's a big roundabout like the one here in the image, definitely signal going out of the roundabout. Now, the Highway Traffic Act here in British Columbia and other places says that if it's practicable, in other words, if you can signal, or it potentially could be confusing to other drivers, then you want to signal. All right, and there's different types of intersections, two-way stop sign intersections, four-way stop signs. Now, there's different rules for those two types of intersections. At two-way intersections, the right-of-way is given to uncontrolled traffic. So the traffic that's not being controlled by stop signs or lights or whatnot, they have the right-of-way. And then at the stop signs, straight-through traffic has the right-of-way over turning traffic. So that's the way that you deem right-of-way. Four-way stops, first person to arrive, or the person on the right. And then we talked about roundabouts at first. So these are different kinds of things, different kinds of intersections. Now, this is the basis of defensive driving, is observation, and these are the 5 tenets of a system that we can't teach because it's been patented, but we still teach it because it was developed in the 1940s, and it still is the best defensive driving strategies that you can put in place. Get the big picture. Make sure they see you. In other words, other traffic drivers and road users see you. Aim high in your steering. Leave yourself an out and keep your eyes moving. These are what you want to do. So get the big picture. Look all around your vehicle. Look in your mirrors. Look as far down the road as you can to predict traffic patterns and the actions of other road users on the roadway. Make sure they see you. Communicate with other traffic via your lights, your horn, your hand gestures, appropriate hand gestures. Don't tell them they're number one because that just instigates road rage. Okay, and the most important form of communication on the roadway is the position of your vehicle on the roadway. If you're in a left-hand turning lane, other traffic is most of the time going to think that you are turning left. All right, aim high in your steering. Again, look as far down the road as possible. Don't be looking at the end of your hood. Leave yourself an out, and I talked about this in the introduction to the presentation, was that it's faster to drive at an emergency situation than it is to brake. So always leave living room space around your vehicle. I'm going to talk a little bit more detail about that one particular tenet. And keep your eyes moving. You want a scanning pattern in place. You want to be checking your mirrors, looking far down the road, checking your gauges on your dash, how fast you're traveling, looking far down the road again, checking your gauges, far down the road again, checking your wing mirrors, checking your center mirror, because you don't want to be rear-ended in those types of things. So these are the tenets of defensive driving. Now, one of the other things that I know about passenger vehicles from my experience of driving, most drivers of passenger vehicles do not read road signs. If they do read road signs, they're not reading them at a very high level. And so road signs are the way that information about roads is communicated to us. If the road is going to curve to the left or curve to the right, then there are road signs that will communicate that information most of the time. It will also give you clues as to the traffic patterns and the actions of other drivers. Now, I'll just tell you an interesting story. When I got my Class B license in Ontario, which was my school bus license, I had to, as part of that, I had to take a defensive driving course. Well, I took a defensive driving course. I was in the classroom at Fanshawe College in London, Ontario. This grumpy old caustic instructor walks into the room and he scribbles on the blackboard and he says, "List the 4 signs that warn you of hazards and obstructions on the roadway." And of course, I was dumbfounded, which surprised me because I'd been a truck driver and I was like, well, there isn't too much you can't teach me. Well, one of the things we learn about teaching is that we can never know everything because there's too much to know. Simply that simple. Anyway, the 4 signs that he talked about as hazards and obstructions on the roadway were object marker signs, which are the hash marks and the chevrons, which tell you which side to pass a fixed object on the roadway, and then construction signs. That's what he was talking about. So, he was one of those driving instructors that was more about power over than empowerment and trying to give other people information and whatnot. But it was a valuable lesson for me that, despite everything that I knew about driving, there was still a lot more to know. So spend more time with road signs. And this road sign here, with the railway on side road, for CDL drivers and passenger vehicle drivers, when you see this sign and you're driving down the roadway, you could potentially, and you see a train on the tracks, for example, you can predict that the traffic up on the roadway might be stopped or out onto your road waiting for the train to pass before they can turn the corner. So there might be stopped traffic up there. So if you see this sign, you're now on the lookout and you see a train on the tracks, So you see the sign, you see the train on the tracks. Now you have two clues to show you that there might be stop traffic up the roadway. So that's what you're going to be looking for. All right, tailgaters. I've had a couple of questions in the last couple of weeks about how to deal with tailgaters. One of the things that you want to do is you need to increase your following distance. And you say, well, why do I need to increase my following distance? The reason you need to increase your following distance is because now you're driving for yourself and you're driving for the person behind you that's tailgating you. So that's what you want to do. You want to increase your following distance. That way you can make maneuvers less aggressively. Okay, you don't have to turn as sharp. You can brake earlier, and that way the person behind you can have warning that you're going to stop and those types of things. And as well, when somebody's tailgating, you want to vigilantly look in your mirrors and make sure that they're not doing something goofy or whatnot. Okay, and if you are driving slower, you're not comfortable keeping up with the traffic flow, drive in the left-hand lane on a multi-lane roadway, and definitely, give other traffic or drivers behind you, afford them the opportunity to pass if there's a place that they can pass you safely and those types of things. And I do recommend that after you get your license, do drive the speed of the flow of traffic. That is just going to make you more predictable, and it's going to make you a safer driver. Okay, skid control. If you do go into a skid, and there's a few videos that I've done here in the last little bit about skid control, the first thing you want to do, I know that it is unexpected, and oftentimes when you go into a skid, it takes you by surprise. Now, and I've talked about ice on the roadways, we've talked about black ice, where to find black ice. The 5 places that you find black ice on the roadway are bridges and overpasses freeze first, near roadways that run near bodies of water, low-lying areas, high elevations, and any place on the roadway that lies in shadow. That's where ice is going to be. And the other thing about black ice is you need to take note of the temperature, and you need to take note if there was precipitation the night before, because all of that is going to create ice on the roadways. If you do go into a skid or the vehicle begins to lose control, get your foot off the throttle, get your foot off the brake, and simply concentrate on steering the vehicle. That's going to help you to keep the vehicle, or to maintain control of the vehicle. And the last thing is always wear your seatbelt, because that's going to keep you in the driver's seat, because it's really tough to control your vehicle if you're not in the driver's seat, if you get thrown out of the driver's seat or whatnot. Okay, so know that as well. You got to wear your seatbelt and post off the dead pedal. And if you haven't seen that video, there's another video here on understeering. Have a look at that, and that will give you some information about skid control. Okay, living room. Leave yourself an out. And I emphasized this point at the beginning. Faster to drive out of an emergency situation. It's faster to drive out of an emergency situation than it is to brake. So always leave yourself an out. And you can always control the space in front of your vehicle. And yes, vehicles are going to go in there, but like I said, most of the time they're going faster than you, so therefore they're not going to be there for very long, because they're just going to take off and leave you in the dust. And then finally, the other point is that you want to drive in the spaces between the gaggles. I don't know what it is about drivers, but they have this kind of herd mentality, and you can see that here in the image over here. You can see the cluster of vehicles here. They're all together, and then back here there's a couple of lone vehicles. This is where you want to drive. You want to drive in the spaces between the cluster of vehicles, because as I said, if you're not near anything else, it's less likely that you're going to hit it. Okay? And finally, scanning patterns. Look in your mirrors often, and that way you can determine vehicles that are beside you and vehicles that are to the rear of you. And one of the things that I like about newer vehicles is that they have blind spot indicators, just a little light down by the wing mirror that comes on when a vehicle is in your blind spot. So that definitely, these technologies do not take over and do not replace good scanning patterns. They simply help you to be a better driver. It's like backup cameras. You should still be looking out the back window. Don't just use your backup camera. It's just an aid to make you a better driver and make you safer. Don't solely rely on that. Okay, types of crashes. Head-on crashes, T-bone crashes, rear-end crashes. Now, we've more or less eliminated head-on crashes, but they are the most deadly of the crashes, because you have the speed of the two vehicles compounded. So if two vehicles are doing 30 miles an hour, the crash is now 60 miles an hour. So it's going to be much more devastating. And there are some techniques that you could put in place for head-on crashes. One of them is to try and avoid the other vehicle at all costs. Hit it at an angle. Do not hit it straight on if you can at all. Try to reduce your speed as much as possible. And if you're going to drive off the roadway, try and hit something small as opposed to something big. Okay, T-bone crashes are most likely to occur during the left-hand turns. And know that you're going to survive a head-on crash in this day and age because of the safety features and the crumple zones in modern vehicles. It's not likely you're going to survive a T-bone crash. And the reason you or a passenger is not going to survive a T-bone crash is because there is nothing there on the side of the car that's going to protect you. The door is hollow, it's 2 bits of metal, and that vehicle is going to come in, and most of the time in T-bone crashes, these crashes are fatal. Okay, people do not survive these kinds of crashes, especially, so say for example you're the driver and the car hits you right on the driver's door. It's not likely you're going to survive that because there's just no protection there. It's not like a head-on crash or hitting something with the front of the vehicle. There's a whole crumple zone there. There's a motor and the hood and everything else that absorbs the energy from the impact. So know that on left-hand turns, this is why they're so dangerous, is because you're not going to survive a T-bone crash. And then finally, rear-end crashes, and I've had a couple of comments about rear-end crashes. And the most important thing that you can do to avoid rear-end crashes, and we teach new drivers this, is to stay back 1 vehicle length from the traffic in front of them. So when you come to a stop in traffic, stop so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement. When you can see the tires making clear contact with the pavement, that's approximately 1 vehicle length from the vehicle in front of you. And you're sitting there, you're stopped in traffic, and if there isn't any traffic behind you, you're watching the traffic come up. When you're watching the traffic come up, if the traffic is coming up too fast, you can simply move forward or drive around the vehicle in front of you to get out of the way of the vehicle that's coming up behind you. So, as well, look at the video here on rear end crashes. That's in the defensive driving playlist, and that'll give you some more tips and information about being defensive and being in a defensive posture so that you don't get rear-ended. Okay, so that's a quick overview of defensive driving, and as I said, I'm going to put up a defensive driving course over at the Smart Drive Test website. And if anybody's interested in purchasing a defensive driving course, can you just, in the comments, just write SMART, and I'll get working on that defensive driving course as well here. So we're just going to head back over here. Okay, we got that. Okay, that. Just bear with me here. I'll get back up here. There we go. Okay. And we're back. There we go. Okay. All right. So Frank says he sets his cruise control at 65 miles an hour in the States on the interstate, and that keeps him out of the gaggles, and that is an awesome driving strategy for those of you driving on interstates and motorways and freeways. Okay, Naruto, there we go. As I said, do not use your name. How trustable are blind spot detectors? That's a great question. Will people still be needing to do shoulder checks 10 years from now, by when blind spot detectors will probably be standard on all vehicles? Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens in 10 years, but as I said there in the video, all of this technology, backup cameras, backup beepers, sensors, blind spot detectors, and those types of things, all of this is simply an aid to help you to drive better. And, you know, I personally, you know, because driving is so dynamic, I want that second check. It's the same thing when you pull out into an intersection or you pull out onto a public road. You always want to look twice before you proceed. It's kind of like, it's like carpentry. It's like woodworking, right? Measure twice, cut once. It's, you know, because driving has more severe consequences. If you get T-boned or you get into a crash, it would have been better to look twice to check again, because you can never check too much when you're learning how to drive. All right. Okay, Unesso, hi there. Yes, Unesso, that's a great joke. Herds of cows. That's a very good one. There we go. Okay. Okay, Naruto, you got the playlist on parking videos. I did put that up for you. That's really great. Umer, how are you? Okay. All right. Lots of good information there that Corey's getting up from everybody. Matt, yes, you have roundabouts in Wisconsin, Matt. And one of the things, actually, it was Wisconsin, and something that I read on the internet that I looked at that spurred my truck apron video, and that was out of Wisconsin, that trucks in the roundabout have the right of way. And I completely disagree with that legislation, because that just allows trucks to say, oh, you know, I can just plow through the intersection or plow through the roundabout because I got the right of way. That's really, I don't agree with that, because it makes it dangerous, because some truck drivers, especially when they're tired or they're not thinking or looking or those types of things, really need to be paying attention to going through the roundabout. Okay, especially when most of the time they're curving to the driver's side and they can simply look out the window to see what's out there in their blind spots and those types of things. Okay, do not use your name. Cruise control is also better for general flows of freeways. Constant speed means constant distance between cars, thus adding more predictability on the roadway, which adds to safety. Yes, I totally agree with that. And, you know, like I said, I'm a huge cruise control fan, and especially when I was driving truck and driving buses, I just had it on cruise control all the time. And it's less fatigue for you on long trips that are 2 or 3 hours, because you're just not monitoring that speed all the time. You can just let the vehicle go. Excuse me. So, okay. Tiffany, hi there. How are you, Tiffany? How's your evening? Okay. Live life. Wi-Fi shut off. Did you answer my question earlier? Is it okay to have a dash cam running during a driving exam? Live life. No, I didn't answer your questions earlier. Thanks for reposting that. No, you can't have any recording devices in the vehicle while you're taking your road test. Now, I know there are some videos here, and I've had some people try to spam me. Excuse me. Who somehow have gotten dash cams into the vehicle. You're not allowed to have any recording devices in the vehicle during your road test. Okay, so just know that. No. And Sam said that as well. Jericho Arroyo. And Sam is a driving instructor at Rookie Auto Driving School there in the Bronx, and he said the same thing. No. Dash cams are not allowed on the road test. Okay, so know that. Okay, so no. Okay, Darren asked me if you had to turn right on a red light. No, you don't have to turn right on a red light. You can wait for a green light on a road test. Now, unfortunately, that's one of those gray areas, Darren, where, you know, it's a little bit up to the discretion of the examiner. If it's completely clear and you've got an opening to go and you don't go, the driving examiner may take a dim view on that and may assign demerits for you. But it's my understanding, and maybe Sam will be able to shed a bit more light on this, in terms of drivers who don't turn right on a red light, as long as there's no signs prohibiting you turning right. I don't know. I don't think they can fail you, but they can assign demerit points. I don't know. Sam, maybe you could answer that a little bit in terms of turning right on reds and for the purposes of a road test. Okay? Oh, that's awesome, Tiffany. Now, just remind me, Tiffany, you're going for the San Francisco Transit Authority. That's who you're driving for. I'm pretty sure I remember all this. I recall all this. I haven't talked to you for a few weeks, so. But that is really awesome. The 29th of January. I bet you're really excited. Like, that's like 2 weeks from now. Man, I'd be so pumped for that. So, yeah, and you're gonna like it. It's really great. Okay. Excellent, Matt. Yes, and the other thing, Matt, I use a dash cam in my vehicle all the time as well. I just let it run all the time, because if something happens, then I've got it on video. And not only that, but, you know, it gives me a lot of B-roll for my videos as well, which really helps out as well. Sebastian, affordable GPS. Well, an affordable one is the one in your phone. There's a GPS in your phone. That's probably the most affordable one, because you're already paying for that. So, yeah, I mean, really, you don't need a dash cam. Now, Sebastian, what are you using your GPS for? Are you using it for CDL driving, or are you going to be using it for, or just for personal use for your passenger vehicle? Okay, Miguel. How do you approach a yield turn on an 18-wheeler? Miguel, carefully. You want to get, okay, so Miguel, what you want to do is you just want to slow down. You probably want to, it depends on what kind of transmission you're gearing down, but probably third or fourth gear, and then just sort of creep up, have a look, scan the intersection, and then if it's good to go, then proceed, okay? So that's what you want to do. Okay, so there's what Sam says, and this is a good point, because it's not allowed inside. So Sam, when you say it's not allowed in New York City, now are you talking about New York City proper in terms of Manhattan, or is it all of New York City, including the suburbs like Queens and the Bronx and Brooklyn and all those types of places? Is it just New York City, or like Manhattan on the island, or is it all of the suburbs as well that you're not allowed to turn red on a red light, turn right on a red light? Okay. There we go. Sebastian for 1997 Maxima. Okay. Yeah. Sebastian, what I would recommend for a GPS, just use your phone. Just put it on audio, and then it'll just talk to you while you're driving. That's all I do. I don't actually buy a GPS. I find my phone really good for that. And actually, when I was driving truck, and the GPS broke in the truck, that's all I did in the truck was I just used my phone. Okay, and Tommy Computer Geek, he actually pointed out, use Android Auto, but it will use the data on your phone. And yes, it will use your data on your phone, but if you're just using it for personal use, you're just going to use it every now and again, so it's not a huge deal. Now, JFSA says, I have the Garmin Diesel Cam GPS for truck. Bobtail and four-wheeler does logs and has dash cam with location, speed, and time logging. That sounds like a really good product, JFSA. Thanks so much for putting that up. I'm actually going to do a bit more investigation after this and look into that, and maybe I could do a video on that, and that would really help out. Okay, do not use your name. Yes, New York City is the only exception in the U.S. where right is not legal, unless there's a sign prohibiting it. Yes, that's a good point there. Thank you for that information. There's a few other things about New York State that are a bit different than the other states in the U.S. Okay, Rabaz, hey, I just got back from picking up my brother. How do you avoid them? Rabaz, one of the things that I said in the defensive driving is to increase your following distance. That way, if something unexpected happens while you're driving, you've got space. But, that could have got it unexpectedly. It's pretty tough. Yeah, okay. So, Sam says the 5 boroughs. So, for those of us aren't familiar with New York jargon, Sam, the 5 boroughs I'm thinking are Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx. I'm missing 2. What are the other 2? Long Island. Is Long Island a borough? I don't know. You'll have to tell me. Okay. Okay, JFSA. Yes, really happy with it. Tiffany, you're scared of driving a bus. Well, that is a good thing. I think when you're don't have a bit of nerves about driving a bus, I think that's when, you probably need to take a step back and whatnot. You're always going to have a bit of fear and a bit of trepidation, but Tiffany is just to get in and keep doing it. So, you're going to be fine. Okay. So just take the practice, listen to the other people, and you're going to be great. And let me tell you, from my experience of teaching people how to drive, and I'm talking specifically about CDL drivers here, I'm not talking about everybody everyday driving. Women are better CDL drivers from the get-go than men, because men tend to be a bit aggressive, whereas women tend to be looking and checking everything else. So just know that as well, that probably there's some inherent skills that you have that you're kind of overlooking a little bit in those types of things. All right, what is my opinion of lane splitting? Matt, that's probably a whole other conversation about motorcycles and those types of things. There we go. Sebastian, Staten Island and Queens are missing. There we go. Okay, excellent. So one of the boroughs is the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan. There we go. Okay. The RAV3. RAV3 door. UNESCO, I'm not sure what that vehicle is. I'm not familiar with it. Okay, Long Island is not a borough. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we have the authority here. Sam is telling us what it is. It's Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. There's the 5 boroughs. There we go. Okay, UNESCO, the RAV4 3-door. Yes, it's a Toyota. It's I suspect it has a fairly high rating, okay, UNESCO. So just have a look on Google there, and that'll give you more information. But it's a Toyota, so it gets my endorsement every time. All right. Okay, we're going to wrap up here pretty quickly. We're running into an hour here, so if you have any more questions, by all means, send me an email. Get in contact with me. I'm more than happy to help you out. And I'll answer a few more questions for you. Oh, there's my friend. Okay, Savannah, excellent. There's a good question. Okay, so when you're backing up on the road test, you have to look out the back window. Now, I need to do a bit of investigation with this. Savannah, you're not in New Jersey, are you? Because somebody was telling me last week, and I need to look this up and verify this information, but they said they're now allowing backup cameras to be used on a road test. But for the purposes of what you want to put your arm on the back of the passenger seat, and you want to turn your body, and you want to look out the back window. Now, in the video that I said about reversing, I said you could take your seatbelt off. Don't take your seatbelt off for the purposes of a road test, okay? Keep it on for the duration, because even though you can do it in legislation, don't do it on a road test, all right? So leave your seatbelt on. Andrew, do you recommend learning a 90 degrees perpendicular backup parking method or a 45 degree? Andrew, I use the 90 degree, and in the reverse stall parking video here on the channel, that's what I show you how to do. Now, you can do either, whichever works for you, as long as you can get that vehicle into the spot. Now, no, for the purposes of a road test, Andrew, you do have to reverse bay park. You do have to back into a parking space. That's one of the absolutes on a road test. Some of the other stuff can be a bit, questionable. It's up to the discretion of the examiner whether you're going to do parallel parking, you're going to do 2-point reverse turn, or those types of things. But you do need to back up, so know that and just practice that. But I do the 90 degree one, okay? And have a look at that video if you haven't already checked it out. Okay, Rabaz, the bike turned into my lane instead of stopping, and yeah, the biker made things worse. Yeah, unfortunately, Rabaz, nothing happened. Nobody got injured. You didn't have a crash, did you? I'm assuming that you didn't, because you're here to tell the story, which is good. Sometimes it's just going to happen, and you know that story, an inch is as good as a mile. If you missed them and nothing happened other than, scaring the tar out of you, then that was all good. But one of the things that I do advocate, and again, I come back to it, increase your following distance. Okay? So, one more. Here we go. Good night, Kim. All the best with your driving and those types of things. You didn't tell me, Kim. Just send me an email about the posted speed limit, and I can talk to you a little bit further about that, okay? Rabaz, you live in Hawaii. Oh, that's great. Okay, so Rabaz, those two things that you're talking about, mock road tests, if you go to a driving school and ask for a mock road test, say, listen, I'm going for my road test, I just want to go out with a driving examiner, they will do a mock road test at a driving school for you. You pay for that. Okay, the other thing is that running commentary, that changes between different driving authorities, and different driving instructors are going to tell you different things. Now, in terms of learning how to drive, doing a running commentary is going to allow you to learn how to drive faster. So know that for the purposes of learning how to drive. And I really advocate that as one of the best tools on learning how to drive. Okay, because studies have shown in terms of adult education that doing and talking about what you're doing are the best ways for retention. Okay, so we'll just leave that there. Okay, Rabaz, so yeah, your dad was yelling at you. No, that's really great. Inch is as good as a mile. You didn't get in a crash. That's all great. Okay, Diane, have a look at the reverse stall park video. I'm just going to answer one more question, and then we're going to leave it there. Okay, Paul, do you have to do 90 degree reverse stall park, or can you do 45 angle reverse stall park? Paul, it doesn't matter how you get into the parking space, whether it's 90 degree or 45. It doesn't matter. As long as you get it into the space between the lines and you don't hit anything. There's no preference on either one of those. Okay. Candy, parallel park is almost certain that you're going to have to do on your road test, so definitely be prepared for that. All right, we're going to wrap up there. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. It was really great. A lot of A lot of questions tonight. I didn't even get to my sales pitch, but know that there are courses over at the Smart Drive Test channel. Logbook courses, defensive driving, pass your road test first time, all of those types of things. So have a look at those over there as well. Congratulations to everybody that's passed their road test in the last little while. Congratulations to those who have got jobs doing CDL work. That is really great, and I look forward to talking to you more. I'm very happy. I think finally I've got the live feed to an acceptable quality level, and I'll definitely get the video up for you. And Delvey wasn't here tonight. Delvey, I did do your video on shifting faster for a manual transmission, and that's what I'm working on, and I hope to get that up for Wednesday for you. Like I said, I'm struggling a little bit with Final Cut Pro right now on my new computer, but I'll definitely get that up for you and get the highlights up for this live stream tonight. So thank you everybody for showing up. Congratulations to everybody who got their license past the road test in the last week. Good luck to everybody taking a road test this week. And all the best. Thanks again. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.